All right, everybody, Jason Brown, welcome back to the channel. I hope you learned something today. Today, we are continuing my theme of discussing the student loan debt crisis and more specifically, how to avoid student loan debt. Now, today I have a very special guest that has a very interesting and entertaining story to share. Mr. David Wilson is joining us today. Now, David has actually been featured in Dave Ramsey's documentary, which just was recently released. And that documentary is called Borrowed Future: How Student Loans Are Killing the American Dream. David is one of the students who graduated debt-free, who was featured in that documentary film. And David is also the podcast host of his very own podcast called Your Debt-Free Degree, in which he interviews other individuals who have graduated from college debt-free and shares their stories as well. But today we get to hear David's story. So David, thanks so much for joining us. And I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. Excited to be here and share a little bit about how others can hopefully get a debt-free degree too. So thanks for having me.
This is good. Yeah, this is going to be a really cool story, and I hope a lot of people learn from it as well. So let's just dive right into it, David. So I want to get into your mindset a little bit back when you were in high school, perhaps. So thinking back when you were in high school, was there anything that you did to prepare for college, either you or your parents, to prepare for college, specifically financially? Were there things that you did in high school that you put in place that allowed you to, pay your way through school?
So I'll start with the short answer.
Okay.
No, not really. As crazy as it sounds, I didn't actually learn about the concept of a debt-free degree until I was a senior at Lakeside Lutheran High School, where we were required to take the Ramsey's Foundations in Personal Finance class. And growing up, I hadn't really talked with my mom or my dad or step-parents about money. It just wasn't a topic that we talked about. So when I got to this class, it was just like mind-blowing thing after mind-blowing thing of learning about money. And I stuck to it like glue, and I wished I would have learned it when I was 16 versus 18, which meant that I had to make up for that time really quick as I was heading into college the next year.
Okay, very good, very good. Yeah, and that story is not uncommon to most, I think, of us, or most of us, when we were in high school as well. It's very true for many of us. So let's jump into the next one. So David, now when you entered college, did you start with a plan or a goal in mind to graduate debt-free? Was that a specific targeted goal? And how aware or how conscious were you of this student loan debt crisis that is really permeating the media these days?
So that awareness really came with that senior year class, and it was there I decided I wanted to go to school debt-free. I was going to pay for it myself, because what they demonstrated and what I felt when looking at all the numbers was this could be a big hindrance on my future. I don't want to leave 4 years of college with a ball and chain on my ankle and go out into the real world having to pay back student loans. I don't want to do that. I want to be different. So that was a very honest conversation that I had to have with my mom, saying, hey, Mom, if I can't pay for school, I'm not going to go to school. I'm going to either take a gap year and work, or I'll have to find other means to pay for this thing, because I don't want to go into debt with student loans. And my mom's absolutely fantastic, but she's a teacher, and she started saying, well, maybe I can help you a little bit. I'm like, Mom, I know you're not in a position to do that. So we're not going to sacrifice my future. We're not going to sacrifice your future. We're going to do this different.
Very good, man. That's good to know that you had that kind of like that mission plan was in place for you to go through college debt free. That's really cool. So now we're going to dive into the story and just tell us, David, your journey. Highlight some of the big moments in college that maybe some of the challenges or stumbling blocks that that you went through to ultimately graduate debt free. And I know we're going to talk about this because this is very interesting. One of the stories I want you to tell is you flipped lawnmowers, David. I
Yeah.
heard that you bought and sold lawnmowers to earn money to pay your way through school. So I want to hear that story. You know, why lawnmowers? How did you get into that? So tell us that too. So kind of tell us your journey.
Yeah. So we'll start just senior year me. Basically, I had saved up some. So there wasn't a total lack of unpreparedness. I had just savings from summer jobs. So I had about $6,000. And then I had gotten a larger scholarship from the Herb Cole Foundation. And together, those amounts would allow me to cash flow my first year at Wisconsin Lutheran College. Now, Wisconsin Lutheran College as a college choice was not my original college choice. I originally thought that I would be going to the University of Minnesota Twin Cities, getting my suit, getting my business degree, paying for all the things on student loans. But once I saw the cost differential of $22,000 a year to $13,000 a year for Wisconsin Lutheran College, I knew immediately that I would have to go there because I could cash flow the first year. So we went into school. I knew that I could cash flow the first year. I started working a campus job that paid $7.70 an hour. And I had a lot to make up for the next year to be able to pay for it. So I knew that that wasn't going to cut it. I quit that job and then got a internship with a cell phone company working on commission doing sales. And I went through that, did very well that summer, and was able to cash flow my second year. So those were the main pieces that helped me get through years 1 and 2. Between years 2 and 3 are when the lawnmower thing happened. And that actually happened really by accident or just by circumstance. I had been fortunate enough to be a finalist in a giant internship competition that year. And the prize was you got to ride a Harley Davidson around the country and they'd pay you for it and you get to keep the bike at the end. And out of 7,000, my video made it to the top 20. So I was waiting on that decision. And because I was waiting on that decision, I didn't pick up an internship. So my dad had actually done the lawnmower thing a bit previously. And he had introduced me to the idea and thought, hey, why don't you just start doing this in the interim while you're waiting to hear back? And I kept doing that. Finally heard back via a PR announcement from them, not from HR or anything. So that was kind of sucky. I took that pretty hard. But that summer ended up being absolutely amazing because I would drive around the whole state of Wisconsin with my minivan, trailer, buying lawnmowers from dealers and then reselling them on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, etc. It was absolutely amazing just how well it worked. I had one day where I picked up a lawnmower for $1,700 and within the same day sold it for $2,600.
Wow.
$900 one day. I couldn't believe it. I'd never experienced making that much money in one transaction. And the nice thing about that experience was that transitioned, and they really talk about the lawnmower thing a lot in the documentary. But after that, during the school year, I would actually sell cell phones online to help make money. I'd flip furniture, I'd flip clothing, and there was just all these things that I would be able to make money with now because I understood the online marketplace. So that was really the biggest financial driver for me to be able to afford a debt-free degree. But I was also a RA my junior and senior year, which saved $20,000. So in total, my degree cost about $162,000 or somewhere around there. I got around $113,000 in aid from government, the college, and then just other outside scholarships, which left me about $42,000 to pay cash, which I was able to do. But in addition to that, I also graduated not only with a debt-free degree, but actually with my Roth IRA maxed out for 2019 and 2020 and a fully funded 6-month emergency fund.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay, let's stop right there for a second because that's a lot of follow-up questions here.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot. That's amazing. What a story. So going back to the lawnmowers, were they like push mowers or riding mowers or both or?
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest. I don't like push mowing. It's not my thing. So on our half-acre lot, I would have a 60-inch commercial zero turn to cut the lawn because I'd be buying all these different lawnmowers, but mostly riders, anywhere from like a small John Deere tractor that just a person would use on a normal house lot to those commercial size zero turns. And there's one picture, which I'll have to find it for you, of just the whole back of our yard with lawnmowers parked. I even
Wow.
had one with a bucket on it too, so I got to play around with that. And obviously we had no need for these things, so it was purely just for my business, but made my mom go a little crazy, but she was also pretty happy that the debt free degree thing was working out.
Did you have what I know you mentioned a lot of different online selling platforms. Was one of them better than the other? Did you have more success on like Facebook Marketplace versus Craigslist or
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace is probably the easiest because you can communicate right there. There's rating systems. That was one thing I prided myself in, being very high rated and following up and just treating it like an actual business because your reputation can spread on there. I would actually do things where I'd pick up free stuff from the Craigslist free section,
right?
take it, clean it up, and then list it on Facebook. And because more people were on there, they would purchase it. So it was
Wow.
like taking money out of thin air.
This is like a reality TV show, the Barter Kings, or one of those from back in the day, Storage Wars. I mean, literally, you could have done a TV show on this. Now, how long did you do the flipping, like the lawnmowers? Was that for your last 2 years of college?
So for the majority of my summer during my between my sophomore and junior year, that's when I
Okay,
mostly did lawnmowers.
okay,
Between my junior and senior year, I had to live away from home for an internship. So I just at that point, to be honest, I knew I could coast a bit and just relax because of where I was at. I had already projected the next year out, so I didn't continue that. It's still a part of me. I don't do lawnmowers now, but I still do the whole buy and sell stuff. Like right now, I'm doing coins.
okay.
Uh, yeah, I got into that by chance too. But once you learn one thing, you kind of learn where to look to figure things out, and it's crazy what you can accomplish.
Very cool, man. You were quite a hustler in college, man. That's such a cool, inspirational story. Appreciate you sharing that. Now let's. You mentioned the RA stuff, so tell us a little bit more about that. What exactly is an RA? And I think you said you got $20,000 from that. Break that down. Was that per year, or is it like a scholarship? How does that work? Is it like a stipend?
Yeah, so RA stands for resident assistant. And my junior year, I had 28 freshmen men that I was responsible to look over. We had desk duty where we had to monitor traffic in and out of the buildings, and we had to enforce campus policies. It's kind of like your campus police, but not in like the traditional police sense. You're building relationships with these people and calling them out when they make poor decisions. So it was not an easy job by any means, but there was a pretty big financial benefit to it. As a resident assistant, you don't have to pay for room and board. At least that's where I went. And room and board cost about $11,000 a year. So that includes like all your meals and such. And then I also got a free parking permit, which would have cost me $500 out of pocket, and then a $900 stipend. So did that junior year with 28 freshmen, and then senior year I had 42 mixed sophomore, juniors, and seniors, which was quite fun. Just being responsible and getting to know all these people and give them advice and such.
Well, that's great. And what a great opportunity to cut a tremendous amount of expenses because, as we all know, uh, most of the time the living expenses are going to outweigh the
Yeah.
tuition and books cost. So that's going to be your higher expense. So if you have an opportunity like David did with the RA, that's a great opportunity to eliminate any or all of those living expenses. So that's really good. That's a huge help.
Yeah.
So David, let's jump into this. I'm so intrigued that you were recently featured by Dave Ramsey And Dave Ramsey or Ramsey Solutions just released a documentary on the student loan debt crisis called Borrowed Future: How Student Loans Are Killing the American Dream. And you were one of many subjects featured in this documentary film. So tell us, how in the world did this come about? And tell us, for those who haven't seen it or are interested in seeing it, tell us more about what the documentary is about, what it covers.
So the documentary, we'll start with just what it covers. It goes over the student loan crisis in America and paints that from the perspective of a couple of different couples of like their situation. So there was an orthodontist that had $1 million in student loan debt, a teacher that had $120,000 in student loan debt, another student who was $12,000 in debt, as well as some others. And then it shows the deficiencies in the system that have gotten us to this point with the governmental policies, student loan organizations, and their practices. And then it just walks you through the time period as well as those people's stories to see that how that's impacting them now as adults and what it takes for them to actually get out of that situation. Absolutely great film. Lots of things that I didn't know that I now know after seeing it. So would recommend. It's on Amazon, Apple, and Google Play for those of you to check out. How I got in it, not by really any doing of my own. And I say that because when I was a senior in college, I was doing what all seniors in college do. During my study break, I was watching the Dave Ramsey live stream because that's normal for a 22-year-old, right? But that day, I felt compelled to say thank you. Thank you, Dave, and your team for sharing these principles with others. It's ultimately changed my life. I'm about to graduate with a debt-free degree, fully funded emergency fund, and then my Roth IRA maxed out for 2 years. And out of the 2,000 people watching and the flurry of live comments, the chat moderator saw that and responded saying, "Hey, we're working on this project. We think your story's awesome. You should send it over to this email address." So me being a naive 22-year-old sent my whole life story to this email address and waited. That email got a response requesting a phone call with the producer, explaining the story and how they'd like to get me involved, and then a couple other phone calls. Then pandemic hits, and we're like, what's going on here? But thankfully, after about 6 months, 3 guys showed up at my door to film the interview scene. I was mic'd up for my college graduation, and then they left, and they're now dear friends of mine after spending a week with them, and then invited me down to Nashville to film some B-roll, meet the team, meet Dave, etc. I left August. They invite me back for the premiere, where I got to see the premiere of Borrowed Future with all 1,100 Ramsey employees, and that was just an amazing experience. Got to meet some of the other people in the movie. And then finally it launched on October 14th and has now been seen by over 250,000 people and is flipping this industry on its head. It's ticking some people off in the right way. So it's amazing that I just happened to be a part of it.
What a story, man. How it's so cool how that all happened organically. Like it just started with you making a comment like, "Hey, thanks for your help, Dave," whatever. And they grabbed onto it, and look at you. You're in a featured documentary. Now, let me ask you this, David. Have you gotten any feedback from any, family, friends, anybody who's maybe seen you in the film, good, bad, indifferent?
Not a ton of from direct people. It's actually kind of interesting because you would think that maybe everyone would watch it type thing if they knew, but they don't. That's just not how it works, and I figured that out real quick. So I no longer expect, and really when I first started did not expect anyone I know to watch it unless they were genuinely interested in the subject matter. The most encouraging thing that has come out of the documentary is just being more involved in the Ramsey ecosystem with like-minded people reaching out, and that has led to opportunities for me to meet individually with people to help them get a debt-free degree, speak at various high schools and colleges on how to get a debt-free degree, and I also teach classes online just with personal finance. And it wasn't really until the documentary went out and these things started coming in that I understood how valuable this was and how different of a message it was. Because as weird as it sounds, I was just doing me that whole time. It didn't seem odd, but with greater awareness came a greater personal responsibility to help. So now that's my personal mission.
Really cool, man. Really cool story. And that's so cool that you got to be featured in that film. And I hope it continues to, like you say, cause some ripples in the waves and get people to really think about, what this situation really is and how you do not want to be a part of the student loan debt crisis, and
Definitely.
and how it's much easier to avoid student loan debt than to hope and pray for forgiveness, which 45 million Americans are doing right now. That's not a position that you want to be in. So thank you for sharing that story. Now let's move on, David. I'm curious, was there, kind of reflecting back over your whole college journey, was there anything, now you did do a lot of interesting and unique things. Was there anything that you maybe would have done differently as far as, how you managed or handled your money or scholarships or what have you?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely are some things I would do differently. The first is I probably wouldn't go to the cafeteria to eat as much. That's not related to the debt-free degree. In all honesty, I did not take advantage of scholarships as much as I could have. The $95,000 number that they show in the movie includes like automatic merit scholarships that came from WLC just based on my ACT score as well as my GPA, which was good. But going into college, I didn't realize how much I missed out on by not applying for scholarships my freshman, sophomore, senior year of high school, but then also applying for more my freshman, sophomore, junior year of college. It finally stuck my senior year where I received one of my bigger scholarships at $10,000, but even that I didn't directly apply for. That was like a selection thing. So if I could go back, it would be take more advantage of the scholarships, because then I could have pocketed the money that I made to invest and further increase the trajectory of my future.
Yeah, that's so true. That's a really good advice to the next generation that's entering college for sure, because there's so much scholarship money out there that goes unused, and there's so many opportunities that students can take advantage of for sure. Now, last question, David, as we wrap up. David Wilson talking about his debt-free degree and all of the things that he did to earn that. So just David, do you have any advice that you would give to the next generation of college students to ultimately avoid student loan debt completely?
Yeah, I'm going to walk you through as fast as possible the 5-step framework that I lay out.
Cool.
So first off, let's walk it back. I don't think everyone in the next generation has to be a college student. What I tell students is identify the things you're good at, the areas you see results, the things you like doing, and then say, these are the problems I like solving, these are the people I like helping, and this is the work that I find meaningful, and see where those intersect to find a future career. If that requires college, great, go to college. If that doesn't require college, don't go to college. And this is where I really want students to be selfish. Don't listen to your parents, listen to yourself and what you really want, because it's your life. So if they decide that they have to go to college or that they need further education to get a degree, find the quickest, fastest, least expensive way to get to that destination. And if it requires you to go to a traditional 4-year school, we'll go there. But if you can get it done via tech school, boot camp, online course, that might be another good option. Once you've picked out the school, find the lowest costing one, the one that you can get through the door without taking out loans. And then after that point, make sure you're taking part of your governmental aid by filling out the FAFSA. Go and apply for as many scholarships as possible, the thing that I didn't do. And then the last step is to just, while in college, stick to your debt-free degree plan, meaning have a job, work. Students that work are more likely to get higher grades. Live like a college student instead of going to Olive Garden, hit up the Wendy's 4 for 4, and then be very intentional with your money and work your plan because you realize what's at stake after those 4 years. So, just to recap, decide if you actually need to go to college, pick a college you can afford, fill out your FAFSA, fill out as many scholarships as possible, and then stick to your plan while in school. That's the advice I give to college students. Simple in content, but hard in practice. But if you follow it and make it work for you, it'll be so worth it.
Excellent advice. Very practical, and I really appreciate your time, David. Now, before we leave, I want to let everybody know if they want to connect with you or find you. Now, I'll go ahead and say we will drop a link to the Ramsey documentary that you were featured in, Borrowed Future. We'll put a link in the description below if anyone wants to check it out. You can go right to the link and you can watch the trailer, of course, and see if it looks interesting to you. And then you can go on and purchase it on any of those platforms that David mentioned that it's on. Now, David, tell us, if anyone wants to check out your podcast or anything else, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, the easiest way to find anything about me is by going to imdavidjwilson.com. So IMDAVIDJ, just the letter, WILSON.com. There you'll find links to my LinkedIn, my Instagram, my Twitter, where I post all personal finance related content, especially pointed at the younger generation. So if you're in high school, college, or even young couples, those are who I predominantly work with as a financial coach and who I teach classes to. And I'm so passionate about this mission, and I just want more people to feel like I feel about money at 24 years old, because I realize it helps me be more involved with the things that I want to do, my family, my church, etc. So reach out if I can help you in any way. And that's an open invitation. I would love to have more people contact me than less. So I'm excited to hear from you, and I appreciate this opportunity to be on this episode as well as to connect with your audience.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. And just once again, want to thank David Wilson for sharing his debt-free degree story. And until next time, this is Jason Brown saying to always remember, it's not the amount of money you make, but the margin that matters the most. See you next time.